Fox News Hour debuted 12 days after the U.S. invaded Iraq. 5 years later, it is with anger, sadness, and sheer disbelief that we find ourselves in our country, still there, in the middle of a deadly and volatile battleground. Our third story in the countdown as we continue to look back at the last 5 years of this program. Two reminders tonight of the lies, misdirections, and mistruths that got us into Iraq and keep us there. In a moment, the incredible changing laundry list of excuses for this war. But we begin in October 2006, when the administration tried for the umpteenth time to persuade the American public that what had happened had not happened. There was a different defense secretary, a different press secretary, but the same attempt to obfuscate the truth. You've probably forgotten this because it stuck about as well as did the new Coke. But just last year, the Pentagon tried to change the language. We were no longer fighting a war on terror. We were fighting a global struggle against violent extremism. But despite Donald Rumsfeld's endless repetition of the new phrase, the effort failed because the commander-in-chief refused to call the global struggle against violent extremism anything but a war on terror. Now in our fourth story in the countdown, that message miscommunication is happening in reverse. On Monday, the White House fired the underproducing catchphrase, "Stay the course," and apparently nobody told the Secretary of Defense.
A lot of debate has now emerged over the phrase, "stay the course," and what that actually means. Well, the president is backing away from staying the course. No, he's not backing away from staying the course.
Of course not. You know, I suppose the concern was that it gave opponents a chance to say, well, he's not willing to make adjustments. And, of course, just the opposite is true.
The problem arises when you can't make adjustments even about the language of making adjustments. The White House press secretary is now revising his revisionist history on that phrase and still coming up short, first saying that the president never said stay the course, then yesterday saying this to Fox News.
So is it true the president has abandoned the line, "we're staying the course," and the new explanation of Iraq is there is a timeline in place?
You know, this is a great story, John, because the president, we went back and looked today, and we could only find 8 times where he'd ever used the term, the phrase, "stay the course."
Well, sure, to be fair, the president did say stay the course 8 times.
This country will stay the course. My message is that we will stay the course. And that's why we're going to stay the course in Iraq. If we don't lose our nerve, if we stay the course, would have the nerve to stay the course, and we will stay the course. We must stay the course, and I told him and assured him that the United States would stay the course.
So there they are, the 8 and the only 8 times President George W. Bush ever said the phrase, "stay the course." The only time.
We'll stay the course in Iraq, and it's very important for us to stay the course. And we're going to stay the course. America will stay the course. We will stay the course. We will stay the course. We will stay the course. We're just going to stay the course. We will stay the course. We will stay the course.
Manterremo questa strada.
We're there to stay the course, and we'll stay the course, stay the course. Stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. We will stay the course. And yet we must stay the course. And we will stay the course in Iraq. And that's what we're doing. And we'll stay the course. As a matter of fact, we will win in Iraq so long as we stay the course.
And now you know tomorrow's headline from Mr. Snow. I never said he only said it 8 times. I said we could only find 8 times. Evidently, somebody at the White House needs a little help with the Google. Parenthetically, some addictions are never truly shattered. On the 12th of last month, the president, speaking to the National Republican Congressional Dinner, insisted, quote, "You might even say that when it comes to withdrawing from Iraq, the Democrats' policy is stay the course." The next bit of Orwellian language approach came 2.5 months after the alleged passing of stay the course. Mr. Bush decided to announce what he called a surge, something known in English as a troop escalation. So in the hour immediately prior to his announcement of his decision to again stay the course, we look back at what he and his course had to that point achieved. Any meaningful assessment of the president's next step in Iraq must consider his steps and missteps so far. So let's look at the record. Before Mr. Bush was elected, he said he was no nation builder. Nation building was wrong for America. Now he says it is vital for America. He said he would never have put U.S. troops under foreign control. Today, U.S. troops observe Iraqi restrictions. He told us about WMDs, mobile labs, secret sources, aluminum tubing, yellow cake. He has told us the war is necessary because Saddam was a threat, because of 9/11, because of Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, because of terrorism in general, to liberate Iraq, to spread freedom, to spread democracy, to keep the oil out of the hands of potentially terrorist-controlled states, because this was a guy who tried to kill his dad. In pushing for and prosecuting this war, he passed on chances to get Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, Muqtada al-Sadr, Osama bin Laden. He sent in fewer troops than recommended. He disbanded the Iraqi army and de-Baathified the government. He shortchanged Iraqi training. He did not plan for widespread looting nor the explosion of sectarian violence. He said in troops without life-saving equipment, gave jobs to foreign contractors and not the Iraqis, staffed U.S. positions in Iraq based on partisanship, not professional experience. We learned that America had prevailed, mission accomplished, the resistance was in its last throes. He has said that more troops were not necessary and more troops are necessary, and that it's up to the generals, and then removed some of the generals who said more troops would be necessary. He told us of turning points, the fall of Baghdad, the death of Uday and Qusay, the capture of Saddam, a provisional government, the trial of Saddam, a charter, a constitution, an Iraqi government, elections, purple fingers, a new government, the death of Saddam. We would be greeted as liberators with flowers. As they stood up, we would stand down. We would stay the course. We were never stay the course. The enemy was Al-Qaeda, was foreigners, was terrorists, was Baathists. The war would pay for itself. It would cost $1.7 billion, $100 billion, $400 billion, $500 billion. And after all of that, today it is his credibility versus that of generals, diplomats, allies, Republicans, Democrats, the Iraq Study Group, past presidents, voters last November, and the majority of the American people. Let's turn to MSNBC political analyst Howard Fineman, Newsweek's senior Washington correspondent. Howard, good evening.
Wow. Hi, Keith.